I'm Holly from Your Past is a Gift. Okay, so continuing on with the topic that we had previously. Adults, children. Okay, so the dynamics between the two. Now, you have to understand, okay, especially if you're not a parent. As a parent, we blame ourselves for everything that goes wrong, I guess, if you want to put it that way, in our child's life. So anytime something happens with them, they get hurt, or, physically, if their health isn't the best, we always blame ourselves. Always, for the most part. Most parents will do that. They will always point the finger at themselves, that they've done something wrong, that they haven't taken care of their child properly. So there's also the dynamic that as a parent, when your child goes into the world, this child is representing you. Okay, they are your child. And so many parents take it on board as well. They get embarrassed, if they feel that they haven't done a good job. For example, if their child goes to school and doesn't do well academically, okay, they take that as, a reflection of who they are. If they go to school and they're not good at sports, they take that on as a reflection. If that's my child, but they're representing me in some way, because I'm the parent. Because in the world, in the real world, there's this judgment, that people have on parents when they see a child doing something, say they see a child that's extremely overweight, extremely obese. There's a judgment on the parent. When they see a child doing something naughty, bullying, for example, or being bad towards other children in some way, there's always that judgment towards the parent, So you have to understand a lot of the times when you were the child and this parent was not kind to you in some way, saying unkind things to you. Many of the times it would have been because they were embarrassed, but the embarrassment comes not from who you are as a person. You've gone into the world, but because they're your parent, and you're representing them. And so it's because they're comparing. Here comes that comparing thing again. They're comparing, that academically you're not as, as good as the rest, or, in sports you're not as good as the rest. If a parent accepts you for who you are, and they help you along, okay, if you're struggling academically, they can help you along, to understand the subjects a little bit, or get you help, because there's so many tutors out there now, private tutors that you can have one-on-one that might be able to explain it to you in a way that maybe you don't understand in class. There's so many different ways to explain a subject. But because the teacher already has her class of, say, 30 children, she can't give that time to each individual child to make sure that they all understand, all the subjects all the time. So sometimes that child might just need a one-on-one. It's just someone that can explain it in a different way that they can understand. I'm a very visual person. And so I think with maths, I would have excelled even more, because I used to have a lot of problems understanding fractions. But I think if I had more of a visual of how fractions worked, like of cutting up an orange in 4 and working out that there's a quarter each and doing all those sorts of things, that they may not do in class. Well, they didn't. In my day, they didn't. They just explained it all on the board, with numbers. And so I found fractions and decimals were actually quite tricky. I still learned them, but I found them quite tricky to understand them properly. A lot of things I just repeated back what I'd learned, but I hadn't quite grasped the concept of it, So for some children, that maybe they just need it explained in a different way. It doesn't mean they're stupid, it doesn't mean they're slow. Maybe they just don't get the way it's being explained. And it's as simple as that. And I can tell you, as a piano teacher, it's very rare that I've been able to do the lessons the same for any two given children. And I've had twins, and I've had to do the lessons for these twins completely different, because what worked for one did not work for the other one. So this is something parents need to understand. It doesn't mean that they're slow or stupid. It just means they don't understand the way it's being explained. And unfortunately, the teacher can't just sit there and explain it 40 different ways so that everybody gets it. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, as a piano teacher, you're one-on-one. It's very easy to address it then. You know, that, oh, okay, you're not getting it that way. I'm not going to explain it that way. You know, it took me a really long time to understand teaching music that when I first started, because I started at 10. I've talked about this in a previous video. So at 10, if a teacher tells you that the notes are called A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you're 10. Okay, that's what we're going to call it. Let's do that, right? You can get that. But to a 5-year-old, to say that this note is called a C doesn't mean anything to a child yet, or a D, or an E. They're letters. It's very abstract. But now take that child and say that a cat is sitting on that key, and tell them that a dog is sitting on this key, and an elephant is sitting on that key. And so we're going to call them cat, dog, and elephant instead of C, D, E. Now that child, they're using their imagination. Oh, there's a cat sitting on that key. I can remember that. That's that key. And you can help them to find it all along the keyboard. But like I said, you as a teacher, we have to adapt. You know, it's easy when it's one-on-one. Oh, okay, they're not going to understand that. And that's why in the beginning, when I taught little ones, it would be such a slow process, you know, because it was with time that I developed, you know, the cat, dog, elephant, using the animals and using all different things that are much easier for a child to imagine, you know, to see it there rather than a C. A C doesn't mean anything. A D doesn't mean anything to a 5-year-old, you know? So all of these little things, you know, make a huge difference to the learning of a child, to how they learn, you know? And even with that, with some children, I can't do the traditional system. I can't do the cat, dog, elephant. They just don't get it. Their brains are wired completely different. And so we have to go with a totally different system that's more for the oral, you know, for the listening. We listen to it and we try and work out the notes and then we try and play. But it's totally different. Now they're listening, we work with rhythms because they learn in a different way. So I wish school could be like that. I wish, you know, each child could have their own particular teacher that could explain to them in a way they understand, and then everybody would be brilliant, you know. But you know, keep that in mind as well. It's not just about, you know, that you're slow or you're stupid, or maybe it's just explained in a way that you just don't understand. You just don't get it. It's that simple. If it were explained in a different way, in a more visual way, some people are very visual, you know, that they need to see images or imagine with images, you know, to understand a process, to understand, you know, a subject. Others don't. Others give them letters and words and off they go. You know, don't need that. But we're all different. So when we embrace that, then we can start to move forward. All right. So remember to click like and subscribe below for more videos and for your next message. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.